To all my valued viewers, subscribers, friends, colleagues, and students. A pleasant day to all of you. Once again, welcome back to my channel. And this is Glenn Pajares. And in today's video, I'll be discussing about Soren Kierkegaard's perspective on ethics, or what is ethics in the philosophy of Soren Kierkegaard. So who is Soren Kierkegaard? Soren Kierkegaard is a Danish postmodern thinker. In fact, he is considered as the father of existentialism. And he's not only a philosopher, he's also a theologian and a prolific writer, because in his 42 years of existence, he was able to write around 30 volumes of work, though not named by himself, but he used a lot of pseudonyms as author. But what is important today is that what is ethics according to Soren Kierkegaard? So according to Soren Kierkegaard, ethics is not just a study or the knowledge of right and wrong or good and evil. Ethics also is not just about knowing what are the theories, norms, and standards in deciding or in knowing what is right from wrong, or simply the application of these norms and standards to real and specific moral issues, problems, or cases. But ethics is all about how to live a good life, how to live a meaningful, happy, flourishing, excellent life. So that's what ethics is for Soren Kierkegaard. And according to him, life is concerned about fear, anxiety, anguish, and despair, and boredom. So these are the things that actually bother the human being, or part of the human being's main existential concern. So every day, the human being is confronted with fear, boredom, anxiety, or they call it angst, dread, despair, and anguish. Many commentators and interpreters of Kierkegaard would identify anxiety with anguish, with dread. However, we will be defining each of these existential concerns of man. So I'll start with boredom. So what is boredom? For Kierkegaard, boredom is not just a mood or a feeling or a psychological state, but it is an ontological structure, part of man's existential concern. So man is aware that life is full of boredom, and boredom is a kind of lack or absence of interest or motivation or desire, or what we call appetite. So that's how deafening, that's how threatening and dangerous boredom is. It's a kind of nihilism or nothingness or meaninglessness that engulfs or embraces the life of the human person. So it is something that man wants to get rid of, or man wants to escape or get out of. And what is fear? Fear for Kierkegaard is an external threat. Any threat outside the human person that the person is conscious and aware of is fear. And what about anxiety? Anxiety also is like a feeling or a mood or a psychological state. Others would say it's more than that. It's an ontological structure or an existential phenomenon that the human being cannot escape. And as I mentioned, anxiety is most of the time associated or identified with angst or dread or anguish. So what is anxiety? Anxiety also is a kind of feeling of threat or menace or peril of the nothingness of the future possibilities of man. According to Soren Kierkegaard, the human person is by nature free. So he can choose. Even not to choose is a choice. So similar to Sartre, for Kierkegaard, man is freedom. Man is by nature free. So because he's free, The human person has infinite possibilities, infinite choices, infinite alternatives that would either make or break him, or he may choose something that will make him successful, or choose that would pave the way to his failure or demise. So, because of our ability or the capacity to choose, because we are freedom, we are made to choose. It's inevitable not to choose. Our ability to choose actually is the cause of our anxiety. We feel threatened and menaced and uncertain and uncomfortable because of the infinite possibilities of our choice. So we may choose for the bad, we may choose for the good, we may choose for something that is beneficial to us or unbeneficial to us. And this uncertainty, the nothingness of future possibilities and infinite possibilities, make us experience anxiety, anguish, or dread. And we have to accept that it's part of human existence. And actually, it causes pain and suffering and discomfort to all our lives. No one is exempted for so long as he or she exists. And finally, we have despair. So what is despair? Despair is actually the feeling or the mode that one is not able to live the kind of life one wants to live, or the failure to become who we are truly. In other words, despair is that feeling, that experience, that consciousness and awareness that the human person fails to become who he truly wants or who he truly is. So it's a relation between ourselves and to what kind of life we want to live. Despair also is a consequence when the human being fails to acknowledge or recognize that he is freedom, or that he has infinite possibilities and alternatives to choose. Despair also comes when one might be aware or conscious of one's infinite possibilities and potentialities and choices and alternatives to make in life, but choose not to explore or choose these possibilities that can make her or him better in life, better than his present state or the status quo. And also, despair is an experience when one lacks faith or one does not recognize God as the source of eternal happiness and true goodness. So that's why I strongly believe that Soren Kierkegaard is a Christian, a theist existentialist. So for him, the cornerstone of ethics or goodness or happiness, flourishing, excellence, good life, a meaningful life is God. And later I'll discuss it in a more detailed fashion. So as I mentioned, part of human existence is to be confronted or to experience boredom, anxiety, anguish, dread, fear, and despair. So Kierkegaard wanted to really study these concerns deeply. That is why most of his writings deal with these existential concerns. Now, he also wanted man to surpass, transcend, and overcome anxiety, dread, anguish, fear, and boredom. So he proposes the different stages of life. So first, to overcome boredom, anguish, dread, and despair, Kierkegaard said that man chooses to live according to pleasure or according to one's interest. So trying to live a beautiful life, an aesthetic life, a creative life, an adventurous life, serving not others but oneself. But one also realizes that the aesthetic life, a life of pleasure, a life of beauty, a life of adventure, is self-serving, and it does not truly solve all other things that causes burden and dread and anguish. So man chooses to live an ethical life, or he calls it the ethical stage of human existence. Here, in the ethical stage, the human person chooses not to serve oneself anymore or simply live in a life of pleasure, of beauty, but rather he chooses to live according to the norms and standards and criteria set by society. In the ethical stage, man veers away from being selfish or self-centered, but rather become altruistic or other-centered and becomes universal in the sense that man serves the community or serves others. And man finds meaning in this stage, being ethical. In fact, the ethical stage provides man with guidelines, rules, and policies on how to decide, trying to assure him of making a good choice, trying to reduce boredom, anguish, and anxiety, or the difficulty of making a good choice amidst infinite choices and future possibilities. But then again, the ethical stage is not enough. Many situations, phenomena, and circumstances and incidents in our life are without rules, without policies, without specific criteria or guidelines that again lead us to boredom or anguish or anxiety or dread or even despair because there is no specific instruction or guideline on what to do in a particular situation in life. That's why Kierkegaard said the ethical stage is not enough. It's not the end. It's not the be all of life that makes man happy. According to him, the best stage or the last stage, the highest stage of human existence is the religious stage. So the religious stage is already beyond the aesthetic and the ethical. So it is about one's relationship with God. It is about making a leap of faith. So faith is central to living this kind of life or this stage in life where one has to believe in God, who is the source of all happiness and goodness, the foundation of an ethical or a moral life. That is why a lot of commentators and interpreters would say that Kierkegaard is what? Is a believer or an advocate of the divine command theory, having God as the ultimate source of a good, moral, excellent, flourishing, and meaningful life. And for Kierkegaard, this is very important because what matters in the end is our relationship with God, the personal relationship with God, because God will be the ultimate judge and savior of mankind, the provider of law, moral guidelines. So in this stage, there are no more rules. The only rule is to believe in God, to believe that all future possibilities and uncertainties, alternatives and potentials can all be summed up and can all be answered with certainty with God. So man is also afraid or anxious of the future, of death, the uncertainty of death, the uncertainty of one's condition in the afterlife. But all these uncertainties, boredom and anguish, can all be extinguished if one has faith in the ultimate being, who is God. So God is the ultimate answer. In fact, in my perspective or interpretation, it's like Kierkegaard is like Saint Augustine, the Bishop of Hippo, who once said that the heart is restless until it rests in God. So Kierkegaard also said that life will be full of boredom, full of anxiety, full of despair and anguish if one does not have faith in him, if one does not put his trust fully in God, who is the font and the source of all meaning and infinite or eternal happiness, which is the ultimate goal of every human person. So at the end of the day, it's all about having faith in God. And that's the answer to all the existential problems of fear, burden, anxiety, anguish. And that is how to live a happy, meaningful, good, flourishing life. So that is ethics according to the existentialist and postmodern thinker Soren Kierkegaard. So I hope you learned something in this video. I would like to thank all of you for watching and listening. Please click like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and be updated with the next episodes. And again, don't forget to give your comments and suggestions to improve our future videos and episodes. Once again, good day, everyone.